At a quiet gas station, a group of outlaw bikers laughed and mocked a police dog. Little did they know this wasn't just any dog, and what happened next would change their lives forever. What could this remarkable dog possibly do to silence them? The gas station stood under the glaring sun, its lone pump island surrounded by the shimmering heat of the desert road. The silence of the late afternoon was broken by the roar of approaching motorcycles, gleaming, chrome-plated machines ridden by a group of leather-clad bikers. They pulled in with loud laughter and revving engines, their tough, rebellious demeanor dominating the quiet surroundings. Among the few patrons at the station was Officer Alex Carter, a seasoned cop known for his unshakable calm under pressure. Standing by his patrol car, he waited patiently for the pump to fill his tank. At his side sat his K9 partner, Harper, a sleek, jet-black German shepherd with piercing amber eyes. Harper exuded an air of quiet confidence, his gaze scanning the surroundings with alert precision. The bikers dismounted and began chatting loudly, their mocking laughter soon directed at Harper. One of them, a burly man named Rex, pointed at the dog and smirked. "What's the matter, boy? Too scared to bark?" he jeered, his companions chuckling in agreement. Another added, "Doesn't look so tough to me. Just a mutt in a fancy collar." Alex remained calm, his hand resting lightly on Harper's head. The dog didn't flinch, his unwavering stare fixed on the group. But beneath the calm exterior, Alex could sense Harper's tension, a coiled spring ready to act if necessary. Alex leaned down and whispered softly, "Easy, Harper. Let's see how this plays out." The bikers continued their taunts, their antics escalating. One of them even tossed a piece of candy toward Harper, laughing when the dog ignored it. "Guess the mutt doesn't know how to have fun," Rex sneered, his voice dripping with derision. Unbeknownst to the bikers, Harper's calm wasn't a sign of fear. It was the result of years of rigorous training. This wasn't just a dog. Harper was a decorated K9 officer with a reputation for tackling dangerous situations head-on. As the tension in the air grew thicker, one of the bikers made a move that crossed the line, stepping closer to Alex and Harper with an air of menace. What happened next would leave the bikers speechless and teach them a lesson they'd never forget. The laughter of the bikers echoed across the gas station as Rex stepped closer to Alex and Harper. His hulking frame cast a Harper over the officer, his stance exuding bravado. "What's the deal, officer? You scared without your little mutt to back you up?" Rex mocked, his tone dripping with condescension. Alex glanced up calmly, his years of dealing with unruly individuals keeping him steady. "No need for hostility," he replied evenly. "So just filling up and heading out, same as you." His voice carried the quiet authority of someone who didn't need to prove himself. Harper remained seated, his eyes locked on Rex. Despite the taunts, the dog was still and composed, but every muscle in his body was tense with readiness. Alex knew Harper was watching Rex's every move, waiting for the slightest signal that danger was imminent. The bikers encircled Alex's patrol car, their mocking remarks growing louder. One of them leaned in close to Harper, snapping his fingers in the dog's face. "Come on, show us what you've got," he sneered, his companions howling with laughter. Alex's jaw tightened, but he held his ground, his hand still resting on Harper's head. "Look," Alex said, his tone firm but calm. "I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt here. Walk away, and we all move on with our day." "No harm, no foul," Rex laughed, a deep, guttural sound that signaled anything but cooperation. "You think you can boss us around just because you've got a badge? We don't answer to anyone, especially not some cop hiding behind a mutt." His eyes narrowed as he jabbed a finger toward Alex. Before Alex could respond, Rex reached out to shove Harper's collar, a reckless move meant to provoke, but the instant his hand made contact, Harper reacted with lightning speed. The dog's sharp bark split the air, his stance shifting to a defensive crouch as he bared his teeth. "Whoa! Easy there," Rex exclaimed, stepping back in surprise. The bikers laughed nervously, their confidence wavering. Harper's commanding presence was undeniable, a stark contrast to their earlier derision. Alex straightened, his calm demeanor unshaken. "I warned you," he said, his voice steely. "Harper's a trained K9 officer. He doesn't take kindly to threats, neither do I." But Rex wasn't done. Emboldened by his friends, he smirked and turned toward one of the gas pumps. "Let's see how tough your mutt is when I turn up the heat," he said, grabbing the nozzle and pretending to aim it toward the patrol car. Alex's instincts kicked in. "Stop right there," he commanded, his hand moving to his holster. The tension in the air was electric as both sides braced for the next move. Harper, sensing the shift, growled low and steady, a sound that sent shivers down the spines of the bikers. Despite their numbers, the group hesitated, unsure if they wanted to push their luck any further. Rex, however, wasn't ready to back down. "You think your dog can stop me?" he taunted, his bravado masking his growing unease. Alex took a step forward, his voice firm. "You've got two choices. Walk away, or find out exactly what happens when you threaten a K-9 officer and his handler. Trust me, you don't want the second option." For a moment, the bikers seemed frozen, caught between their pride and the undeniable reality that they were outmatched. But Rex's next move would force everyone into action, escalating the standoff into something far more dangerous. Rex's eyes flickered with defiance, his grip tightening on the gas pump nozzle. The air was thick with tension, each second feeling like an eternity. One of the bikers muttered, "Come on, Rex, let's just go, this isn't worth it." But Rex shook his head, unwilling to lose face in front of his crew. "Not until this mutt and his handler know who they're dealing with," Rex snapped, his tone venomous. Alex kept his stance firm, his hand resting on his holster. Harper remained by his side, every muscle taut, his growl a steady reminder of the unspoken threat he posed. "Last warning," Alex said, his voice low and steady. "Put the nozzle down and leave. This doesn't have to get worse." For a moment, it seemed Rex might comply. His grip on the nozzle slackened slightly, and he glanced at his crew, who were now exchanging uncertain looks. But just as the tension seemed to ease, Rex turned suddenly, his hand jerking toward Alex's patrol car, as if to spray the gas. Harper sprang into action before Alex could react. With a blur of motion, the dog lunged, his teeth latching onto Rex's jacket sleeve. The force of the impact knocked Rex off balance, sending the nozzle clattering to the ground. Harper held firm, his powerful jaws ensuring Rex couldn't make another move. The bikers froze, their earlier bravado replaced with wide-eyed shock. "Whoa! Whoa! Get him off!" Rex yelled, his tough guy act crumbling as Harper's grip remained unyielding. Alex stepped forward, his voice sharp and commanding. "Call off your dog, man," one of the bikers pleaded, but Alex didn't flinch. "Harper, hold!" he ordered, his voice calm but authoritative. The dog obeyed instantly, releasing Rex and stepping back, though his posture remained alert, ready for any further threats. Rex stumbled to his feet, his face red with a mix of anger and humiliation. "You'll regret this," he spat, pointing a trembling finger at Alex. "I'll make sure you lose that mutt and your badge." Alex didn't respond to the threat. Instead, he turned to the other bikers, his gaze cold and unwavering. "You're done here," he said. "Take your friend and leave. Now." The bikers hesitated, their loyalty to Rex wavering under Alex's unshakable authority and Harper's silent warning. Finally, one of them grabbed Rex by the arm. "Come on, man, let's just go." Reluctantly, Rex allowed himself to be led away, though he threw a parting glare over his shoulder. "This isn't over," he muttered, his voice dripping with venom. As the roar of motorcycle engines faded into the distance, Alex let out a slow breath, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. He crouched down to Harper's level, his hand resting on the dog's head. "Good work, partner," he said softly, his tone filled with pride and gratitude. But the encounter wasn't without its consequences. Alex noticed several bystanders watching from a distance, their phones raised as they recorded the scene. He knew the footage would likely end up online, and questions about his actions and Harper's would soon follow. Just as Alex was about to climb into his patrol car, a man approached from the gas station. "Excuse me, officer," he said nervously. "I saw the whole thing. Those guys were out of line. If you need a witness, I'm happy to give a statement." Alex nodded, appreciating the gesture. "Thank you. I might take you up on that." As Alex drove away from the gas station, Harper resting beside him, his mind raced with thoughts of what might come next. The bikers weren't likely to let this go, especially not someone like Rex. And with the incident caught on camera, Alex knew he'd have to be prepared for scrutiny from both the public and his department. But despite the uncertainty, Alex felt a deep sense of pride in Harper. The dog had once again proven his loyalty and training, standing as an unshakable protector in the face of danger. Whatever challenges lay ahead, Alex knew he could face them, as long as Harper was by his side. Alex drove in silence, the tension of the gas station encounter lingering in the air. Harper lay on the passenger seat, his sharp eyes scanning the surroundings. ever watchful. The faint hum of the police radio provided a backdrop to Alex's thoughts, which were interrupted when his phone buzzed. A message from dispatch lit up the screen. Return to the station ASAP. Incident footage circulating online. Chief wants to speak to you. A knot formed in Alex's stomach. He had expected some fallout from the gas station, but not this quickly. Looks like we've stirred the pot, buddy, Alex said to Harper, glancing at the dog, who responded with a quiet huff as if to say, I've got your back. When Alex arrived at the station, the atmosphere was unusually tense. Officers exchanged hushed whispers as he walked through the hall. He could feel their eyes on him, a mix of curiosity and concern. Chief Sanders was waiting in his office, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. Close the door, Alex, the chief said, his tone firm. Harper sat obediently by Alex's side as he took a seat. The chief turned his monitor toward Alex, showing a video of the gas station incident. It was already gaining traction online, with headlines like, Police dog takes down biker in heated confrontation, and hero K9 or excessive force. Care to explain this? The chief asked, his voice measured. Alex recounted the events, detailing Rex's aggressive behavior and Harper's controlled response. The dog acted within protocol, Alex said. He only engaged when the suspect was a threat. Chief Sanders nodded slowly. I've watched the video multiple times. Harper's actions were textbook, but the public doesn't always see it that way. Rex knows how to play the victim, and the footage doesn't capture his threats or the nozzle incident. Alex's jaw tightened. What are we dealing with here? The chief sighed, leaning back in his chair. Rex is pressing charges, claims the dog attacked him unprovoked, and to make matters worse, Rex's connections run deep. He's stirring up trouble with local activists, painting this as a case of police misconduct. Alex felt a surge of anger, but kept his composure. We can counter that with evidence, witness statements, gas station surveillance. We can prove Harper's actions were justified. I've already requested the footage, Sanders said, but there's another layer to this. Rex isn't just some punk biker. He's tied to a larger gang network, and they're using this as an excuse to target the department and you. Alex's mind raced. The situation had escalated far beyond what he had anticipated. Harper's role in the incident, while justified, had put a spotlight on them both. As if on cue, Alex's phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number appeared. Watch your back, officer. The bikers don't forget. Alex showed the message to the chief, who frowned deeply. This confirms it. You're on their radar now. I'm assigning you extra patrols and backup, but I need you to be careful. Before Alex could respond, another officer knocked on the door, stepping in with urgency. Chief, we've got a situation. A group of bikers is gathering near Alex's neighborhood. Looks like Rex is leading them. The room went silent. Alex's heart sank as the implications set in. His home was his sanctuary, a place of peace where he and Harper could unwind after long days. The thought of it being targeted filled him with dread. I'll handle it, Alex said, standing abruptly. Not alone you won't, Sanders replied. Take backup. This isn't just about you. It's about sending a message that we won't be intimidated. Alex nodded, appreciating the support. He left the office, Harper at his heel, and prepared for what lay ahead. As they approached the patrol car, Harper let out a low growl, sensing the rising tension in the air. Alex crouched down, looking into his partner's eyes. They don't know who they're messing with, do they, boy? Harper responded with a wag of his tail, a silent promise of loyalty and strength. The patrol car's engine roared to life as Alex and Harper sped toward his neighborhood, the flashing red and blue lights reflecting off the quiet streets. Alex's thoughts churned, a mix of anger and determination. He'd faced gang threats before, but this was different. This was personal. As they approached his block, Alex slowed down, surveying the area. His stomach tightened at the sight ahead. A dozen bikers idling near his driveway, their bikes forming a semicircle like predators circling prey. Rex stood at the center, arms crossed, a smug grin plastered on his face. Harper let out a low growl from the passenger seat, his ears pinned back. Easy, boy, Alex said, though his own pulse was racing. He grabbed the radio. Dispatch, this is Officer Alex. We have a gang-related gathering on my property. Request immediate backup. Copy that, the dispatcher replied. Units en route. Alex parked the car at the end of the street, stepping out with Harper at his side. The bikers turned to face him, their postures radiating hostility. Rex's grin widened as he stepped forward. Well, well, if it isn't the hero cop and his mutt, he sneered. We thought we'd drop by and say hello. Alex's voice was calm but firm. You're trespassing on private property. Disperse now or you'll be charged with criminal trespass. Rex laughed, a cold, mocking sound. Oh, we're not going anywhere. Not until we've had a little chat. He gestured to his crew. We've got some grievances to air. Harper tensed, his sharp gaze locked on the group. Alex placed a hand on his back, silently reassuring his partner. This isn't a negotiation, Alex said. You've made your point. Now leave. But Rex wasn't backing down. You humiliated me, cop. Your dog humiliated me. And now you're going to pay for it. As Rex spoke, Alex noticed movement from the corner of his eye. A biker edging toward the side of the house, likely intending to vandalize the property. Alex's voice snapped like a whip. Stay where you are. No one moves. The biker froze, his hand halfway to a can of spray paint. Alex took a step forward, his presence commanding. I don't care how tough you think you are. You're in over your head. Rex's grin faltered slightly, but he quickly recovered. You think you're untouchable, Alex. You think that dog of yours makes you invincible. Let's see how tough he really is. As if on cue, another biker reached into his jacket, pulling out a small firecracker and tossing it toward Harper. The device landed a few feet away, its sharp crack splitting the air. Harper didn't flinch. He lunged forward, teeth bared, his bark echoing like a thunderclap. The sudden aggression startled the bikers, several of whom took a step back. Rex's bravado faltered further as Harper returned to Alex's side, his sharp gaze daring anyone to make the next move. You've got guts. I'll give you that, Alex said, his voice steady. But this ends now. You don't want to test us any further. At that moment, the distant wail of sirens reached their ears, growing louder by the second. Backup was on the way. Rex's confidence cracked entirely. He glanced at his crew, who were beginning to shift nervously. Time's up, Alex said. Leave now or face the consequences. Rex hesitated, clearly torn between maintaining his pride and avoiding arrest. Finally, he spat on the ground and turned to his crew. Let's roll. The bikers revved their engines, one by one peeling away from the driveway. Rex was the last to leave, his glare burning into Alex as he climbed onto his bike. This isn't over, he growled before roaring off into the night. The street fell silent, save for the hum of approaching squad cars. Alex exhaled, his adrenaline ebbing as the tension lifted. He crouched down to Harper, scratching behind his ears. Good job, boy. You kept your cool. When the backup officers arrived, Alex debriefed them on the situation, providing descriptions of the bikers and Rex's threats. One of the officers, a burly man named Carter, clapped Alex on the shoulder. You handled that well, Alex. Could have gone sideways real fast. Thanks, Alex replied. But I've got a feeling this isn't the last we've seen of Rex and his gang. As the officers dispersed, Alex stood in his driveway, the weight of the night settling over him. Harper nudged his leg, a silent reminder that he wasn't alone. Alex looked down at his partner, a small smile breaking through his fatigue. They don't know what they're up against, do they? Harper wagged his tail, his loyalty unwavering. The following morning, Alex woke up to Harper's low growl at the window. Sunlight streamed through the curtains, but the air was thick with tension. Alex peered outside to find an envelope taped to his mailbox. Written on it in bold letters were the words, "You can't protect everyone, cop." Alex's jaw tightened. He knew it was a message from Rex, a cowardly attempt to intimidate him. Harper remained alert, his instincts razor-sharp, as Alex opened the front door cautiously. After scanning the street and ensuring there were no immediate threats, he grabbed the envelope and brought it inside. Unfolding the letter, Alex read the crude handwriting. "We don't forget and we don't forgive. That dog of yours is next." Harper barked sharply, sensing his owner's unease. Alex knelt to meet his partner's eyes. "They've made it personal now, buddy," he muttered. "But they don't know who they're dealing with." Alex decided to report the threat to his precinct. When he arrived, he found his captain, a no-nonsense woman named Captain Ramirez, already reviewing footage from the gang's last known activities. She glanced up as Alex entered, holding the letter. "They're escalating," he said, handing her the envelope. Ramirez scanned it briefly and frowned. "Rex isn't just a thug. He's calculating. He's testing your patience, trying to get under your skin. And he's targeting Harper," Alex added, his tone laced with anger. "I won't let anything happen to him." "I know you won't," Ramirez said, leaning back in her chair. "But we need to think strategically. Rex is baiting you into making a mistake. Let's make sure he's the one who slips." As the precinct strategized how to handle the gang, Alex's phone buzzed with a message. It was from a neighbor who lived near the gas station where the original incident had occurred. The text read, "Spotted some of those bikers lurking around the area again. Thought you should know." Alex's instincts kicked in. "They're at it again," he told Ramirez, showing her the text. "I'll head over there." Ramirez hesitated. "Take backup." "I'll take Harper," Alex replied. "He's better than any squad car." Reluctantly, Ramirez nodded. "Stay in contact." At the gas station, Alex parked his car a few blocks away to avoid drawing attention. Harper sat alert in the passenger seat, his ears twitching at every sound. Together, they approached on foot, keeping to the Harpers. From the distance, Alex spotted two gang members leaning against their bikes near the gas pumps. They seemed relaxed, laughing and smoking, but Alex knew better than to underestimate them. One of the men, a wiry figure with tattoos snaking up his arms, held a crowbar and idly swung it back and forth. His companion, a bulkier man with a shaved head, looked more on edge, glancing around as if expecting trouble. Alex stayed hidden, observing their behavior. Harper was perfectly silent at his side, his training kicking in as they waited for the right moment. The gang members' conversation carried through the still morning air. "Rex is pissed," the wiry one said. "Says the cop and his dog are gonna pay." The bulkier man nodded. "He wants that dog gone. Thinks it'll break the guy." Alex's fists clenched, but he forced himself to stay calm. He needed to gather more information before making his move. Harper remained still, his body coiled like a spring, ready to act at Alex's signal. Suddenly, the wiry man slammed the crowbar against a nearby trash can, the loud clang echoing through the gas station. "I say we take care of it ourselves. Find that dog. Teach it a lesson." The bulkier man hesitated. "You sure?" Rex said to wait for his word. "Rex doesn't own me," the wiry man shot back. "I'm not scared of some mutt." Alex decided it was time to intervene. He stepped out of the Harpers, his badge glinting in the sunlight. "Funny," he called out, his voice steady and firm. "That mutt is trained to take down guys like you." The gang members froze, their heads snapping toward Alex. The wiry one recovered quickly, his lips curling into a sneer. "Well, look who it is." "All alone, are you?" Alex smirked, motioning to Harper, who stepped forward, his presence imposing. "Not quite." The bulkier man took a step back, clearly intimidated, but the wiry one wasn't as easily shaken. He raised the crowbar, his posture aggressive. "You think that dog's gonna scare me?" Alex's expression hardened. "You're about to find out." Harper let out a warning bark, his stance ready for action. The tension was palpable as the standoff hung in the air. Alex knew this could escalate quickly, but he also trusted Harper's instincts implicitly. Before the situation could spiral out of control, the distant sound of sirens reached their ears. The bikers exchanged a panicked glance. The bulkier man grabbed his companion's arm. "We need to go now." The wiry one hesitated, his gaze flicking between Alex, Harper, and the approaching backup. Finally, he let out a curse and climbed onto his bike. "This isn't over, cop," he spat, before revving his engine and speeding off. As the bikers disappeared into the distance, Alex felt a surge of relief. He crouched down to Harper, scratching behind his ears. "You did good, buddy," he said. "Real good." The patrol cars arrived moments later, and Alex briefed the officers on what had happened. While they discussed the next steps, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that Rex's crew was growing bolder. The letter, the threats, the gas station encounter, it was all leading to something bigger. As he headed back to the precinct with Harper by his side, Alex resolved to stay one step ahead. He wouldn't let the gang intimidate him, and he certainly wouldn't let them harm Harper. This was far from over, but Alex was ready for whatever came next. Back at the precinct, Alex sat in the briefing room with Captain Ramirez, Harper resting calmly by his feet. The gas station encounter weighed heavily on his mind, and the tension in the room mirrored his own inner conflict. "This gang isn't just trying to scare you," Ramirez said, her tone measured but serious. "They're testing boundaries, seeing how far they can push you before you retaliate." Alex nodded, his jaw clenched. "They're escalating because they think I'll back down, but that's not happening, not with Harper involved." Ramirez studied him for a moment before leaning forward. "Alex, I get it. Harper's not just a partner, he's family. But you need to think carefully about your next move. They're targeting him because they know it'll hit you where it hurts. Alex exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. I've faced worse threats in my career, Captain, but this feels different. Harper's just doing his job, and now his life's on the line. Ramirez softened slightly. That's why we need to be strategic. Harper's safety is paramount, but so is yours. Let's use this to our advantage. If Rex thinks he's in control, we'll make him overplay his hand. Later that evening, Alex found himself at home, staring out the window while Harper lay curled up on his bed. The house was unusually quiet, and for the first time in a while, Alex felt the weight of his responsibilities pressing down on him. The gas station encounter replayed in his mind. He couldn't shake the memory of the wiry biker's words. That dog's next. The thought of Harper being hurt was almost too much to bear. Alex's phone buzzed, breaking the silence. It was his sister, Sophie, calling from out of town. "Hey, Alex," she greeted, her voice warm but tinged with concern. "I saw the news about the gang. Are you okay?" Alex sighed, grateful for the distraction. "I'm fine. Harper's fine. Just dealing with a lot right now." "Alex," Sophie said gently, "you've always been the protector, but it's okay to admit when you need help. You don't have to carry this alone." He hesitated, the vulnerability in her words striking a chord. "It's not just about me," he finally admitted. "Harper's caught in the crossfire, and I can't let anything happen to him. He's more than just a partner. He's saved my life more times than I can count." "I know," Sophie said softly, "and I know you'll do whatever it takes to protect him. But don't let your pride keep you from asking for backup. You've got people who care about you. Don't shut them out." Alex felt a lump form in his throat. "Thanks, Soph. I needed that." After they hung up, Alex sat in the dim light of the living room, his sister's words echoing in his mind. He looked over at Harper, who was now watching him intently, as if sensing his inner turmoil. "You're my rock, you know that," Alex said, his voice breaking the silence. Harper's tail wagged gently in response. The following day, Alex met with Ramirez and a small team of officers to discuss their next steps. The tension in the room was palpable as they reviewed the recent threats and formulated a plan to deal with the gang once and for all. "We need to hit them where it hurts," Ramirez said, her tone decisive. "But we can't let them know we're coming. Alex, you're the key to this. They're watching you closely, and we can use that to our advantage." Alex nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "What do you need me to do?" Ramirez laid out the plan. Alex would continue his usual routine with Harper, maintaining a visible presence, while the rest of the team worked behind the scenes to gather intel on the gang's movements. The goal was to lure Rex and his crew into a trap without putting Harper in unnecessary danger. As the meeting ended, Alex felt a renewed sense of purpose. He wasn't alone in this fight, and the support of his team gave him the strength to keep going. That evening, as Alex prepared for his next shift, he found himself reflecting on the bond he shared with Harper. The loyalty and trust between them were unshakable, forged through years of working together in dangerous situations. Before heading out, Alex knelt beside Harper, placing a hand on his partner's sturdy frame. "They're coming for us, buddy," he said, his voice steady but resolute. "But we're ready. We've been through worse, and we'll get through this too." Harper licked Alex's hand in response, his eyes filled with unwavering trust. It was a moment of quiet determination, a reminder of the strength they drew from each other. As they stepped into the night, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that something big was about to happen. The city was alive with its usual chaos, but beneath the surface a storm was brewing. Alex knew the gang wouldn't stop until they got what they wanted, but they had underestimated one thing: the unbreakable bond between a cop and his dog. The night started off quietly, almost too quietly. Alex patrolled the usual areas, Harper sitting alert in the passenger seat of the squad car. The city lights cast long harpers on the streets, and every turn of the wheel seemed to echo with the weight of anticipation. Alex couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to happen. As they turned onto a quiet street near the industrial district, Alex's radio crackled to life. "Officer Walker," came Ramirez's voice, steady but with an edge of urgency. "We've got word from an informant. Rex's gang might be planning something tonight, and they've been spotted near your sector. Stay sharp." Alex gripped the wheel tighter, his eyes scanning the dimly lit streets. "Understood," he replied, glancing at Harper. "You ready, boy?" Harper let out a low, affirmative growl, his keen senses picking up on Alex's tension. The first sign of trouble came when Alex noticed a motorcycle parked just outside an abandoned warehouse. The bike's engine was still warm, and its chrome gleamed faintly under the flickering streetlight. Alex parked a safe distance away and stepped out, Harper following closely at his side. The air was heavy with the smell of oil and rust as they approached the warehouse. The faint hum of voices reached Alex's ears, growing louder as he and Harper crept closer. Peering through a broken window, Alex saw a group of gang members huddled around a table, their harpers dancing on the walls. At the center of the group was Rex, his commanding presence unmistakable. He was giving orders, his voice sharp and menacing. Alex strained to hear the details, but the words were muffled by the warehouse's thick walls. "Stay here, Harper," Alex whispered, motioning for the dog to remain hidden. He needed a closer look, but as he moved around the perimeter, a loud crash from inside made him freeze. The gang members turned toward the noise, their hands instinctively reaching for weapons. Alex ducked behind a stack of crates, his heart pounding as he realized he wasn't the only one spying on the gang. From his vantage point, Alex saw a figure dart across the warehouse, their movements quick but uncoordinated. It was a young man, no older than 20, clutching what appeared to be a bundle of papers. He stumbled, dropping the bundle, and the gang members pounced. "Gotcha!" one of them snarled, grabbing the intruder by the collar and dragging him toward the table. The young man struggled, his face pale with fear. "What are you doing here?" Rex demanded, his voice low and dangerous. I wasn't trying to steal anything," the young man stammered, his hands shaking. I thought," Rex cut him off with a harsh laugh. "You thought you could mess with us and walk away? Big mistake, kid." Alex's blood boiled as he watched the gang close in on their terrified captive. He knew he couldn't wait any longer. Signaling to Harper, he prepared to intervene. "Police! Freeze!" Alex's voice rang out, authoritative and unwavering as he stepped into the warehouse, his gun drawn. Harper barked sharply, his imposing presence halting the gang members in their tracks. For a moment, the warehouse was silent, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Then Rex smirked, his eyes narrowing as he stepped forward. Well, Rex said, his tone mocking. "Look who decided to join the party. And he brought his little mutt, too." Alex ignored the taunt, his focus unwavering. "Step away from the kid," he ordered. "Now," Rex chuckled, gesturing for his men to back off slightly. "You've got guts, Walker, I'll give you that, but you're outnumbered. Do you really think you can take us all on?" Alex's grip on his weapon tightened. "I don't need to," he said, his voice steady. "Backup's on the way. This ends here." As if on cue, Harper growled low, his sharp gaze fixed on the gang members. One of them shifted nervously, his hand twitching toward his waistband, but a single bark from Harper made him freeze. "You've trained him well," Rex said, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "Too bad he's not going to help you much longer." Before Alex could respond, Rex signaled to one of his men, who tossed a metal pipe toward him. The gang closed ranks, their movements coordinated and threatening. Alex knew the situation was spiraling fast, but he also knew he couldn't show any weakness. "Harper," Alex commanded, his voice firm. "Stay ready." The standoff was electric, the gang circling Alex and Harper like predators closing in on their prey. But as Rex raised his hand to signal an attack, the distant wail of sirens pierced the night. Rex's confident smirk faltered, his head snapping toward the sound. "You called back up," he snarled, his eyes narrowing at Alex. "You didn't think I came here alone, did you?" Alex replied, his tone defiant. The gang members exchanged uneasy glances, the sound of approaching squad cars growing louder. Rex cursed under his breath, his bravado slipping as he realized the tide was turning. "Let's go," he barked at his crew, retreating toward the back exit. But before they could escape, Harper lunged forward, blocking their path with a menacing growl. With Rex and his gang cornered between the approaching police and Harper's unyielding presence, the warehouse felt like a pressure cooker about to explode. The gang members shuffled uneasily, some whispering nervously among themselves. Rex, however, refused to back down. His pride and reputation as a ruthless leader wouldn't let him show fear. "You think this is over?" Rex sneered, glaring at Alex. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." Alex kept his stance firm, his weapon trained on the group. "Drop whatever weapons you're carrying and lie face down. This is your last warning," Harper barked sharply, reinforcing the command, his body tense and ready to spring into action at any moment. The young man who had been caught earlier, huddled behind a stack of crates, his wide eyes darting between Alex and the gang. His breathing was shallow, his face pale as he clutched the bundle of papers closer to his chest. Alex spared him a quick glance, signaling with a subtle nod that he would protect him. The sound of the sirens grew louder, and soon the faint blue and red lights of the squad cars painted the warehouse walls. The gang members began to panic, some throwing their weapons to the ground while others hesitated, looking to Rex for direction. But Rex stood frozen, his eyes darting between the exits and the squad cars. As the first officers entered the warehouse, Rex's defiance turned to desperation. With a sudden burst of energy, he lunged toward the young man, his hand outstretched to grab the papers. "Harper, protect!" Alex commanded, his voice cutting through the chaos. In an instant, Harper bolted toward Rex, intercepting him mid-lunge. With a calculated leap, the dog landed in front of the young man, his teeth bared and a low growl rumbling from his chest. Rex stumbled backward, caught off guard by Harper's speed and precision. "Stay down, Rex!" Alex shouted, stepping closer as officers began to secure the scene. While the officers rounded up the gang, Alex approached the young man, Raul, who was still trembling behind the crates. "You're safe now," Alex said gently, holstering his weapon. "What's your name?" "Eric," the young man stammered. "I didn't mean to get involved, I just—" Alex crouched down to Eric's level, his tone calm and reassuring. "Take a deep breath, Eric. Start from the beginning. Why were you here?" Eric hesitated, his eyes darting toward Rex, and who was now in handcuffs and glaring daggers at him. "I overheard them talking about some deliveries," Eric began, his voice barely above a whisper. "I work at the gas station they frequent. I didn't think much of it at first, but then I saw what they were transporting, boxes of weapons and other things." Alex's jaw tightened. "You mean illegal contraband?" Eric nodded. "I thought if I could get proof, I could go to the police, but they caught me before I could leave." Alex exchanged a glance with Harper, who stood protectively by Eric's side. "You did the right thing trying to report them, but you should have called us sooner. This could have ended badly." Eric's shoulders slumped. "I know. I didn't think anyone would believe me." Meanwhile, Rex, still restrained by the officers, continued to taunt Alex. "You think you've won? This is nothing. My crew will bail me out before sunrise, and you'll regret sticking your nose in our business." Alex ignored him, his attention focused on Eric. "You've got the proof now?" he asked, nodding toward the papers Eric was clutching. Eric hesitated before handing over the bundle. "It's all here. Documents, photos, even some addresses. I grabbed what I could." Alex flipped through the papers quickly, his eyes narrowing as he recognized some of the locations listed. "This is enough to bring down more than just Rex," he murmured. "Good work, Eric." As the gang members were escorted out of the warehouse, Rex made one last attempt to intimidate Alex. "You think you're tough because you've got a dog and a badge? Just wait. You'll see what happens when you mess with us." Alex walked up to Rex, his expression calm but steely. "You underestimated two things, Rex: the law and loyalty. Harper's more than just a dog, and justice doesn't take days off." Harper let out a sharp bark, almost as if punctuating Alex's words. Back outside, the warehouse was now surrounded by squad cars and officers processing evidence. Eric sat on the back bumper of an ambulance, a blanket draped over his shoulders. Alex approached him, Harper trotting at his side. "You did good, Eric," Alex said. "We're going to take it from here. The information you provided could dismantle Rex's entire operation." Eric looked up, a hint of relief in his eyes. "Does that mean I'm safe?" Alex nodded. "The police will keep an eye on you, and you'll have protection if you need it. But it's important you stay cautious." Eric reached out to pet Harper, who wagged his tail gently. "He saved me," Eric said, his voice filled with gratitude. "I've never seen a dog like him before." Alex smiled. "Harper's one of a kind. And he's not just my partner, he's my family." As the night wound down, Alex and Harper returned to their squad car, the weight of the evening's events settling over them. Alex glanced at Harper, his hand resting on the dog's head. "Good job tonight, boy," he said softly. "We made a difference." Harper barked softly in response, his eyes shining with loyalty and understanding. The night was far from over for Alex and Harper. As they drove back to the station with Eric's evidence secured in the trunk, a call crackled through the police radio. "All units, be advised. Reports of gang activity near the docks. Possible retaliation for tonight's arrests. Approach with caution." Alex exchanged a look with Harper, who perked up at the mention of danger. "Looks like Rex's crew isn't taking the night off," Alex muttered, gripping the steering wheel tightly. "Let's finish this." Alex arrived at the docks, where a heavy fog rolled in from the water, shrouding the scene in an eerie haze. The faint sound of voices and the clatter of crates echoed in the distance. Alex parked his car at a safe distance and motioned for Harper to follow. Together, they moved silently through the Harpers, their training allowing them to blend seamlessly with the night. As they approached the source of the commotion, Alex could make out a group of men unloading crates from a truck onto a waiting boat. The gang's insignia was scrawled across the crates, confirming that this was no ordinary shipment. Alex signaled Harper to stay low as he observed the scene. He counted 6 men, all armed, their movements hurried and tense. It was clear they were trying to move the contraband before the police could intervene. Alex reached for his radio, his voice low but firm. "This is Officer Alex Carter. I've located a gang operation at the docks, approximately 6 suspects armed and dangerous, requesting immediate backup." As he waited for the response, one of the gang members turned toward the Harpers, his flashlight sweeping the area. Alex and Harper ducked behind a stack of crates just in time to avoid being spotted. Harper remained perfectly still, his keen eyes fixed on the man with the flashlight. The radio crackled back to life. "Back up en route. ETA 10 minutes. Alex frowned. 10 minutes felt like an eternity in a situation like this. He couldn't risk letting the gang escape with the shipment. Taking a deep breath, he decided to act. With Harper at his side, Alex moved closer to the group. He stepped out from the Harpers, his voice cutting through the night. "Police, drop your weapons and put your hands in the air." The gang members froze for a moment, startled by the sudden appearance of Alex and his imposing K9 partner. But their shock quickly turned to defiance as one of them shouted, "It's just one cop and his dog, take him down." 2 men raised their weapons, aiming at Alex. Before they could fire, Harper leapt into action, lunging at the nearest attacker and knocking the weapon from his hands. The man cried out in pain as Harper's powerful jaws clamped down on his arm, rendering him defenseless. Alex fired a warning shot into the air, his voice commanding and unwavering. "I said drop your weapons, you're surrounded." The remaining gang members hesitated, their confidence faltering as they realized the dog was far more formidable than they had anticipated. But one of them, a burly man with a scar running down his cheek, sneered, "He's bluffing, there's no one else here." Before Alex could respond, the faint sound of sirens began to pierce the night air. The gang members exchanged nervous glances, their resolve crumbling as the reality of their situation set in. Scarface, however, wasn't ready to give up. He lunged at Alex, a knife gleaming in his hand. Harper, sensing the threat, released the first attacker and charged toward Scarface, intercepting him before he could reach Alex. The two collided with a force that sent Scarface sprawling to the ground, the knife skidding out of reach. Alex quickly secured Scarface with a pair of handcuffs, his movements swift and efficient. "You picked the wrong night to mess with the law," he said, his voice cold and firm. As the rest of the gang dropped their weapons and raised their hands in surrender, the backup units finally arrived, their flashing lights cutting through the fog. Officers swarmed the scene, taking the gang members into custody and securing the contraband. Alex stood back, watching as the situation came under control. Harper sat by his side, his chest heaving from exertion but his eyes sharp and alert. Alex reached down to scratch behind Harper's ears. "Good work, boy. Couldn't have done it without you." One of the officers approached Alex, a look of admiration on his face. "You and that dog are something else, Carter. We've been trying to shut down this operation for months. Looks like you just nailed it." Alex nodded, his expression stoic but satisfied. Harper did most of the work. He's the real hero here. As the officers began loading the gang members into patrol cars, Rex's earlier words echoed in Alex's mind. "You think this is over," Rex had said. But tonight, Alex and Harper had proven that the law, when paired with loyalty and courage, was more than a match for any threat. As the gang members were led away in handcuffs and the crates of contraband secured, Alex's adrenaline began to ebb. The docks were now teeming with officers, their flashlights cutting through the remaining fog as they catalogued evidence and cleared the scene. Yet, despite the successful operation, Alex felt a lingering unease. Harper, too, was restless, his ears perked and eyes darting toward the darkened warehouse looming just beyond the dockyard. Alex crouched down beside his partner, gently running a hand along Harper's back. "What is it, boy?" he whispered. Harper responded with a low growl, his body tense and poised to move. Trusting his companion's instincts, Alex signaled to a nearby officer. "Has anyone checked that warehouse yet?" Alex asked, nodding toward the ominous structure. The officer glanced over and shook his head. "Not yet. We've been focused on securing the suspects and the shipment." Alex's jaw tightened. "Harper's picked up something. I'll check it out." Moving toward the warehouse, Alex felt the weight of the night pressing down on him. Harper stayed close, his steps silent but deliberate. The air was heavy with the scent of salt water and diesel, mingling with the faint metallic tang of rust from the warehouse doors. Alex pushed the door open, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. Inside, the space was cavernous, filled with stacks of wooden pallets and rusting machinery. The faint sound of movement echoed from deeper within, setting Alex on high alert. "Police!" Alex called out, his voice firm but measured. "Come out with your hands up." The response was immediate and unnerving. A sharp clatter followed by hurried footsteps retreating deeper into the building. Harper barked, his body stiffening as he locked onto the source of the noise. Without hesitation, Alex gave the command. "Harper, track!" Harper took off, weaving expertly through the maze of obstacles. Alex followed closely, his flashlight bouncing off the walls and casting elongated harpers that danced eerily around them. The sound of footsteps grew louder, the echoes betraying the direction of the fleeing suspect. Suddenly, Harper halted at the edge of a storage area, his body rigid as he growled low and steady. Alex moved up beside him, his flashlight revealing a lone figure crouched behind a stack of crates. The man was smaller than the others, his wiry frame trembling as he clutched a makeshift weapon, a rusted pipe. "Don't come any closer," the man shouted, his voice shaky but defiant. "I'm not going back to jail." Alex raised his hands, his voice calm and steady. "You don't have to do this. Put the pipe down and we can talk." The man shook his head, his grip tightening. "You think I'm scared of you? I've got nothing to lose." Alex studied him carefully, noting the desperation in his eyes. This wasn't just about avoiding arrest. There was something deeper driving this man's actions. Harper remained poised, his growls low but insistent, ready to act at a moment's notice. "How you've got something to lose," Alex said, his tone shifting to one of quiet persuasion. "Your life, your future. Whatever led you here, it doesn't have to end this way." The man faltered, his grip on the pipe loosening slightly. But before Alex could close the distance, a sudden noise from outside, shouting followed by a muffled thud, drew both their attention. The man used the distraction to bolt, darting toward a side exit. "Harper, stop him," Alex commanded, his voice firm. Harper lunged, intercepting the man before he could reach the door. The suspect dropped the pipe as Harper pinned him to the ground, his growls a clear warning to stay down. Alex quickly moved in, securing the man's hands with zip ties. As Alex pulled the suspect to his feet, the man muttered under his breath, "You don't even know what you're dealing with. Rex's crew, they're just the beginning." Alex's brow furrowed, but he kept his focus on the immediate task. "You can tell me all about it back at the station." With the man in custody, Alex and Harper exited the warehouse, rejoining the officers outside. The commotion that had distracted them earlier became clear. A second wave of gang members had attempted to ambush the officers, but had been quickly subdued. The docks were now a sea of flashing lights and subdued chaos, the gang's plans thoroughly dismantled. As Alex handed off the warehouse suspect to another officer, his commanding officer, Captain Ortega approached. Her expression was a mix of relief and pride. "Carter, you and Harper just saved us from what could have been a major disaster. The intel from tonight will give us what we need to cripple this entire network." Alex nodded, his gaze drifting to Harper, who was finally starting to relax. "Harper did the heavy lifting, as always. I'm just lucky to have him." Ortega smiled. "He's a good partner, and so are you. Go home and get some rest. You've earned it." Alex patted Harper's head, a sense of quiet pride settling over him. But as they made their way back to the car, Rex's warning echoed in Alex's mind once more. "You think this is over." The night had been a victory, but Alex knew better than to let his guard down. This was just one battle in a much larger war, and he and Harper would be ready for whatever came next. As Alex and Harper drove away from the docks, the adrenaline of the night began to give way to a creeping unease. The man's cryptic warning gnawed at him, and the flashes of the gang's brazen attacks replayed in his mind. It wasn't just the scale of the operation that unsettled him, It was the recklessness and desperation that marked their actions. They weren't just smuggling contraband, they were sending a message. Alex glanced at Harper in the passenger seat. The dog, ever perceptive, seemed to sense his unease, his eyes alert even as his body rested. "Something's not sitting right, boy," Alex muttered. Harper let out a soft whine, his tail thumping against the seat in quiet reassurance. The ride home was uneventful, the quiet streets of the city a stark contrast to the chaos of the docks. Alex pulled into his driveway, the familiar sight of his small, cozy house offering a semblance of normalcy. He parked the car and stepped out, Harper hopping down beside him. The night was still, the air cool and crisp, but as they approached the front door, Harper froze. His ears perked and his body tensed. "What is it, Harper?" Alex whispered, his hand instinctively moving toward his sidearm. The dog growled low, his gaze locked on the darkened porch. Alex's heart quickened as he scanned the area, his years of training kicking in. The Harpers seemed deeper than usual, and the faint smell of cigarette smoke lingered in the air. Before Alex could take another step, a voice broke the silence. "Evening, Officer Carter." Alex turned sharply, his flashlight illuminating a figure leaning casually against the porch railing. The man was tall, clad in a leather jacket with the unmistakable emblem of Rex's gang emblazoned on the back. He held his hands up in mock surrender, a cocky grin on his face. "You've got guts showing up here," Alex said, his voice cold. The man chuckled. "I'm not here to start trouble, just delivering a message." Harper growled louder, stepping protectively in front of Alex. The man's grin faltered slightly, but he quickly regained his composure. "Rex wanted me to thank you for tonight. Said you did us a favor by taking out the weak links." Alex's grip on his flashlight tightened. "If you think this ends with tonight, you're sorely mistaken." "Oh, we know it's just beginning," the man replied, his tone darkening. "But you might want to think twice before poking the bear. Rex doesn't take kindly to people messing with his plans, and he's not one to forgive." With that, the man flicked a cigarette butt onto the ground and disappeared into the Harpers, leaving Alex and Harper on high alert. Alex's hand hovered over his radio, debating whether to call it in, but he knew it wouldn't lead to immediate action. Instead, he ushered Harper inside, locking the door behind them. Once inside, Alex double-checked the locks and ensured the house was secure. Harper paced the living room, his unease mirroring Alex's own. The weight of the gang's implied threat hung heavy in the air, but Alex's resolve hardened. He wasn't about to let a group of criminals intimidate him or put his city in danger. He sank into a chair, running a hand through his hair as he reviewed the events of the night. Harper eventually settled at his feet, his eyes never straying far from the door. Alex leaned down, scratching behind the dog's ears. "We'll be ready for whatever comes next," he said softly. The following day, Alex was back at the precinct, Harper at his side, reviewing the evidence they'd collected from the docks. Reports were coming in from multiple departments. Rex's gang was ramping up activity across the city. Small businesses were being extorted. Shipments of illegal weapons were intercepted, and officers reported increased sightings of gang members near sensitive locations. Alex's mind raced, piecing together the puzzle. Rex wasn't just running a smuggling operation. He was preparing for something bigger, something far more dangerous. That evening, as Alex prepared to head home, a call came through the radio. "All units, we have reports of a large gathering of motorcycles at the old industrial park on 5th. Suspected gang activity. Approach with caution." Alex exchanged a glance with Harper. The industrial park was Rex's turf, a perfect place for the gang to regroup and plan their next move. Without hesitation, Alex grabbed his gear, ensuring Harper's vest was secure. "Let's end this," he murmured. As Alex arrived at the scene, the sound of revving engines filled the air, echoing off the crumbling buildings. The gang's presence was unmistakable. Dozens of bikers, their patches glinting under the flickering streetlights, surrounded a central figure, Rex himself. Alex parked at a safe distance, Harper by his side, as he radioed for backup. But something felt off. The bikers were restless, their movements erratic. It wasn't a simple meeting. It was a show of force. Alex's suspicions were confirmed when Rex stepped forward, raising his hands to silence the group. His voice boomed over the engines. "Tonight, we send a message," Rex declared. "No one crosses us. Not the cops, not the city, and definitely not some washed-up K9 handler." Alex's grip tightened on his weapon as Harper growled beside him. Rex's words confirmed his fears. The gang wasn't just escalating, they were planning a direct assault. Suddenly, Rex pointed toward Alex's position. "And there's our guest of honor," he sneered. The gang roared with laughter as bikers revved their engines, the headlights of their bikes cutting through the darkness and illuminating Alex and Harper. Before Alex could retreat, the bikers surged forward, their engines roaring like a stampede. Harper barked, his body tense, ready to protect his partner at all costs. Alex stood his ground, radioing for immediate assistance. "Officer under attack, requesting backup at 5th and Industrial Park." But there was no time to wait. As the first biker approached, Harper leapt into action, darting to the side to draw their attention. Alex used the distraction to disarm one of the riders, pulling him off his bike and using it as cover. Harper's training shone as he evaded the biker's attempts to corner him. He lunged at one, his teeth sinking into the rider's arm, forcing him to veer off course. Alex, meanwhile, fought off 2 more Kairis, his years of combat training coming to the forefront. But the numbers were overwhelming. Just as Alex and Harper began to falter, the sound of approaching sirens filled the air. Backup had arrived. Police vehicles flooded the industrial park, their flashing lights casting an eerie glow on the chaos. Officers poured out, forming a defensive line and quickly taking control of the situation. Rex, realizing his plans were crumbling, attempted to flee on his bike, but Harper wasn't about to let that happen. With a burst of speed, he intercepted Rex, forcing the bike to skid and crash. Alex was on him in seconds, pinning him to the ground as Harper growled menacingly. "It's over, Rex," Alex said, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. "You're done." As Rex was hauled away in handcuffs, the remaining gang members surrendered one by one. The industrial park, once a hub of criminal activity, was now swarming with officers. Evidence was collected, bikes were impounded, and the gang's plans were dismantled. Alex knelt beside Harper, running a hand through his fur. "You did good, buddy," he said, his voice filled with gratitude. Harper wagged his tail, his eyes fixed on Alex as if to say, "We did it together." The night ended with a sense of victory, but Alex knew the battle wasn't over. Rex's arrest was a significant blow, but the gang's influence wouldn't disappear overnight. Still, for now, the city was safe, and Alex and Harper had proven once again that they were a team to be reckoned with. As the dust settled and the chaos at the industrial park began to quiet, Alex stood amidst the flashing lights of police vehicles. Officers moved efficiently, cataloging evidence and processing arrests and securing the area. Despite the long night, a sense of accomplishment hung in the air. Rex's capture was a significant victory, not just for the department, but for the city itself. Alex leaned against his patrol car, Harper resting at his feet. The loyal dog's chest rose and fell steadily, his exhaustion evident after the intense showdown. Alex reached down, scratching behind Harper's ears. "You're a hero, Harper," he said softly. The dog responded with a tired wag of his tail, his eyes closing briefly as if savoring the praise. The following morning, Alex found himself back at the precinct. Harper trotted beside him, his energy partially restored after a night's rest. As they entered, a round of applause erupted from their fellow officers. Alex was taken aback by the warm reception, but Harper, always the center of attention, barked happily, his tail wagging furiously. "Don't let it go to your head," Alex teased, patting Harper's side. The precinct's captain approached, a rare smile on his face. "Carter, you and Harper have outdone yourselves. Rex's arrest and the evidence we recovered last night are going to cripple his operation. You've given the city something to be proud of." Alex nodded humbly. "It was a team effort, sir. Harper and I just did what needed to be done." As the day progressed, the news of Rex's arrest spread like wildfire. Headlines highlighted the dramatic takedown, praising the bravery of the officers involved. Alex couldn't help but feel a swell of pride, not for himself but for Harper, whose quick thinking and relentless determination had been instrumental in their success. Back at home that evening, Alex sat on his porch, the evening breeze carrying the sounds of the neighborhood. Harper lay beside him, chewing on a well-deserved treat. Alex sipped his coffee, reflecting on the journey they'd been on. The scars on Harper's body were a testament to the battles they'd fought together, but they also told a story of resilience, loyalty, and courage. Alex knew that their work was far from over, but for now he allowed himself a moment of peace. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Alex spoke softly, almost to himself. "We've been through a lot, haven't we, boy?" But no matter what comes next, I know we can face it together. Harper lifted his head, his expressive eyes meeting Alex's. In that moment, no words were needed. The bond between them said it all. This incredible journey between Alex and Harper is a reminder of the strength found in loyalty, courage, and partnership. If this story inspired you, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to join us for more tales of heroism and heart. And while you're here, click on the next video. We've got another story that will leave you on the edge of your seat. See you there.